y'all. I know I've been gone, MIA. What happened? I can finally sit down and make a video. I can't lie, I've missed making videos. And it's crazy because before everything happened, like, I was being, for the most part, consistent every week, uploading a video, interacting with you guys in the comments, and I was gaining subscribers, and then life always happens. But why have I been gone? If you read the title, then yes, Devin and I did suffer from a miscarriage. And it's crazy because one of the last videos I made, I said, I've been kind of slacking because I have a surprise for you guys. The surprise was actually going to be me or us announcing that we were pregnant. But sadly, yes, our baby did not make it. So that's where I have been. It started off with me having it started off with me having really bad pregnancy symptoms. Like, I had no energy. I was nauseous, like, so bad. Like, and I was that way with DJ, so I kind of expected it. I know everybody says, like, every pregnancy is different. This one could be better. No, it was exactly the same way I was with DJ. Always sick, always nauseous. After everything I ate, it had a bad taste in my mouth. So at first I was going through that. So that's kind of why I was MIA at first. And then I was MIA because I was trying to, I can finally talk about this situation and, without full on having an emotional breakdown. So I decided today, let me just tell you guys where I've been, let you know that I am back. I'm going to try to be consistent and post every weekend. Try to get one video out. Back on with the house updates. I have not done anything since the last time I uploaded a video. The house is exactly the same. So just pick back up on getting the house together. So speaking on the pregnancy is kind of what this video is going to be about. Just my experience with the miscarriage. I know when I was going through it, I would look online for situations like other people. I know everyone's different. I know everyone's situation is going to be different, but it's always, you still want to hear from somebody else that's going through the situation and see how their outcome went. So I guess that's what I'm kind of doing now, so you can, even though your experience could be different from mine, this is what I went through, to maybe prepare you. I hope no one ever has to go through this, but if you are, this is kind of just my story. I will say, because this is what everyone has been telling me, if you are going through this, everything happens for a reason. I know it may be hard to see it at first, because it was definitely hard for me to see it at first, but I'm kind of seeing, I guess I'm coping with it this way. So I'm seeing the lesson learned for me is, earlier in the year I had COVID, and I gave COVID to my mom, and my mom ended up in the hospital. So ever since that time, I have been afraid to go out. Like, I don't go out anymore. Like, one time my best friends came over to my house to see the new house, and we all had masks on. Like, I'm like, my anxiety with this virus is crazy. So I think for me, my lesson is I need to live, because I stopped living. I stopped, I was very cautious on everything I do, and I just was afraid to do anything. So at this point, it's like I hid myself from the world. I was doing everything that I thought I was supposed to be doing, and this still happened. So what I'm taking out of this is, life is too short. I need to live my life, while I'm here, so what I'm taking out of this is that I need to live. So I have already booked a couple of trips. At first, I wasn't even going to get the vaccine, but I think, with all this happening, it's opened my, and I'm not saying if you don't, look, Devin's not getting the vaccine, and if you're not for the vaccine, I definitely understand, because I've been going back and forth. But after all this is happening, like I said, I want to live again. For me, I have crazy anxiety, and if this vaccine is going to give me a little bit of, you know, relief of going out, I feel like that's what I'm getting ready to do. So I'm getting ready to have the vaccine. I'm finna live my life. I'm finna go out. I've already booked 2 trips, and I'm planning, me and Devin want to go somewhere for our anniversary. We just don't know where yet. So that's another trip that I'm going to be booking this year. But yes, I'm just ready to live. So we're going somewhere really soon. Can't wait to show you guys, because when all this happened, like I said, I didn't want to go anywhere. But after all this happened, like, Devin saw me so down. He was like, you know what, babe, book a trip. You know, we're finna get out this house. So we have something coming up. I'm so excited. And then my best friend's birthday. She wants us all to go to LA. So I already told Devin that I'm going to take that trip too. And he looked at me crazy, but I was like, babe, I promise, the streets are not calling. You know, they're just calling my best friends, and I'm on 3-way, you know, and just being a little nosy. So I'm so ready. I'm so ready, so excited. But so I said that to say, you know, everyone says, you know, everything happens for a reason. So I'm going to say this happened to me because I wasn't living, and I'm trying to get back to that, trying to live life to the fullest, because you never know what's going to happen in your life. You never know what day, you know, it's going to be your last. So that's what I'm taking out of this, to go into what I experienced with the miscarriage. So I found out I was pregnant. We were super excited, and the crazy thing is, we planned this one out. Like, this baby was planned. Like, I tracked my ovulation. We knew the window we needed in order to conceive a baby. We had fun every night in that window, and got pregnant, super excited. And then went to a doctor's appointment. It was supposed to be, and this is, I'll explain when it goes further in the story, but this was supposed to be my 8-week pregnancy ultrasound. So because like I said, it was planned, and I knew exactly when we conceived, or the window we conceived, I knew I knew I was 8 weeks. So I went into the ultrasound. And a little backstory. So this is not the same doctor that delivered DJ. So my original doctor moved, which I was so sad about. So I had to find a new doctor. So this is my first time even going to this doctor. So going into that appointment, you know, they do the vaginal ultrasound when the baby's, like, when it's too soon in the pregnancy. So they were doing the ultrasound, and the lady wasn't saying anything. And I'm like, okay, is this just how they operate in this office? Because my old doctor and nurse, we would always have conversations. They would walk me through every step. They would say, you know, look at this. This is the measurement of, this is how everything's looking. And yeah, so I'm like, okay, are they just quiet here? She's not saying anything. Devin was in the room with me, but I was texting him, like, because I couldn't see the screen at the time. It was turned to where the nurse was sitting, and Devin was behind her, so he could see the screen. So I'm texting him, I'm like, do you see anything? And he's like, babe, I don't know what I'm looking at. So I'm waiting to hear from her. She's not saying anything. And you know, that first appointment, you hear the heartbeat. So she never hear the heartbeat. She takes the little, you know, the little thing they put up you, she takes that out, and like, I'm looking at her, she looking at me, I'm looking at Devin, and I'm like, okay. And so we're saying, so how, you know, how's everything? How's it looking? Like, heartbeat or anything? And she lets us know, like, you know, I'm seeing the gestational sac. I think that's what it's called. I'm seeing the sac. I'm seeing the, what is it, fetal pole. Like, she's seeing everything. She's just not seeing or hearing a heartbeat. So go to the doctor. Like, so wait till the doctor comes in. And the doctor's like, yeah, you know, when we're looking at these ultrasounds, if we're looking at the heartbeat, we'll see little waves, and we're not seeing any of the waves in your ultrasound. So, you know, she's talking to me in a way that she's trying to give me hope, but it's kind of like, it's like one of those back and forth, like, yeah, I'm going to give you hope, but it's not looking good type thing. Like, we're going to come back, and that appointment was on a Thursday. So she told me, you know, maybe you're just measuring, you know, maybe you're not 8 weeks. And in my mind, I'm like, no, I know I'm 8 weeks. But they're saying I'm measuring 7 weeks. So they're saying that, you know, sometimes it may be too early to hear the heartbeat. So let's just give it another week. So they scheduled me for the next Thursday. So that, let me tell you, that week was the worst week of my life. Hearing that you don't hear my baby's heartbeat, and I'm having to go a whole 7 days in limbo, not knowing anything, not know what's going on. And it's like my mom and Devin are trying to give me hope, and my best friend's trying to give me hope, but I'm like, I went back and forth. At times I would be like, yeah, I know for a fact I'm 8 weeks. So for the baby to be measuring 7 weeks and there not to be a heartbeat, I know I'm gonna have a miscarriage. But then I would have times where it's like, okay, maybe I calculated the ovulation wrong. Maybe I'm counting further than what I am, and maybe there's hope that next week the heartbeat will be there, right? Hope. So some days I would have hope, like, yeah, you know, it's just, I'm too early. I'm too early. I'm going to hear it. It's going to be, everything's going to be fine. Then days will be, I'm just a mess, crying from morning to night. Like, oh my gosh, like, why me? Why is this stuff? Why do these things happen to me, right? So that week was horrible. So again, my first appointment was on a Thursday. They scheduled me for the next Thursday. The Wednesday before my second appointment, I started bleeding. And at that Wednesday, it was just, it wasn't heavy at all. It was like, it wasn't even red. It was like barely pink, but for me, in my head, you know, I already had those days where it's like, I know I'm having a miscarriage. So when I immediately saw the little tiniest pink, I'm like, you know what, here it is, here it comes. And like, I didn't even get off this might, and at this point it might be starting to get too TMI, so if you don't want to hear about it, hey girl, hey guys, I'll see you in the next video. We'll be back to the home updates very soon. But at this point, like, as soon as I wiped, I started crying, and I just sat on the toilet for maybe about 5 minutes just crying. And I just knew it was over. I knew the baby didn't make it. So, but still I'm like, so after I finally got off the toilet, I took a shower, and I'm like, you know what, maybe, you know, in pregnancies you spot. Maybe I'm just spotting, you know, maybe it's not a miscarriage, you know, or maybe I'm just spotting, you know, I can still go in tomorrow. Because like, after I went to that restroom break and I saw the little pinkish, I'm like, you know what, and I never started bleeding again, and that was the only time I was bleeding. And it wasn't heavy at all. Like, it was just my mind. I knew what I'm going through, so that it could have been the smallest discharge and I would have freaked out, right? So, you know, I'm thinking, you know what, I'm fine, it's fine. So the next day, went to the appointment, and again, going back and forth in my mind, miscarriage, no miscarriage, miscarriage, no miscarriage. So by the time I sat down, I had already went back to, I know the baby's not there. I know it's not. I know he or she didn't make it. So again, sitting there. This time my mom's with me. Sitting there. She does the same thing. She's not saying anything. Not communicating, not saying a word. I'm looking at her. And at one point, I'm just looking at the ceiling, just closing my eyes, and because I just know. Because I feel like, I don't know, but I feel like if there would have been a heartbeat or the baby would have been okay, I feel like she would have gave me that relief and said something. And again, this is the nurse. This is not the doctor yet. So, and I know sometimes the nurses aren't supposed to say anything. It has to come from the doctor, but I don't know. I just knew it was over. So, yeah, she took all the measurements again. And then for some reason, this doctor, I don't know if they're doing this now because of COVID, but again, in my older doctor's office, this wasn't it, but it was 2 different appointments. You have an appointment for your ultrasound, and then you have to have a second appointment to talk to the doctor. So my ultrasound appointment and my doctor's appointment were, one was at, I think it was at 11, and then the doctor's appointment was at 1. So I had the ultrasound where they didn't say anything, and I had already waited a week not knowing what's going on. So I had to wait, like, and the ultrasound only took about 30 minutes max. So it's 11:30, and my next appointment is not until 1. So I had to go all that time stressing out. So me and my mom was just walking outside. Just we did go to one store, and then we came back and we were just walking. And we finally went back to talk to the doctor, and the doctor, you know, informed me that yes, I would be having a miscarriage, and that the gestational, whatever, I think I'm saying that right, but the baby sac was collapsing. So when I came to my first appointment, the sac was there, everything looked good, it was just the heartbeat that they couldn't see. The second time we went, it's like everything had started close, like, and they showed me the pictures, like the sac started caving in, and she was just saying, yeah, you're getting ready to start, you know, going through the process of having a miscarriage. And I just started crying. I couldn't say anything. I just started crying, and my mom was there holding me. So my mom started asking questions. Don't ask me what questions she asked, because I have no idea. I had literally checked out. Like, I don't know what I was thinking about. I don't know. I couldn't tell you. Don't know what kind of questions she asked. I don't know. And then it came to a point where she was like, okay, so what do you want to do? So at this point, I had to check back in to focus on what she was asking me. She was telling me I had to make a decision on the next steps of how I wanted to go through. Because with the miscarriage, you can have a DNC, where it's surgery, where they go in there and clean everything out. Or you can let the miscarriage happen naturally, or they can give you a pill that speeds up the process of having the miscarriage naturally. So I had heard about the pill, and I heard that the pain is ridiculous. So I didn't want to go that route. And the surgery, I thought about doing the surgery, but then I was like, you know, with my job, like, if you miss too many days, you can't, so it's a stipend we get every year, but if you miss too many days, you can't get the stipend. And I'm like, you know what? I'm not going to lose my baby, and I'm not going to lose my stipend. And that could be selfish of me right now, but I'm like, you know what? I'm going to go the natural route, because I can't take too much loss. Like, I have to, I feel like in that moment I had to control something. And I feel like that was something that I could control. So I was like, you know what? I'm not going to have the surgery. I'm going to take it natural. And so I'm like, you know, that's what we're going to do. So I decided to just let the miscarriage happen naturally. At that point, again, like I said, I wasn't bleeding, but I knew it was coming. So that was Thursday. So we left the doctor's appointment, still not bleeding. The next day, Friday, was it Friday? It was Friday night. Friday night, I started cramping so bad. And again, wasn't bleeding, but the cramps, they were not regular period cramps. Like, I texted my best friends and I was like, I think I'm having contractions. Like, am I going into labor? Like, what's happening right now? Like, and so I was texting them and I'm like, I can't be, like, this can't be labor. Like, it can't feel this way, right? So I was like, let me Google it. And sure enough, I'm going to put what I found. Sure enough, it said some percent or a certain amount of women have experiences where when they're having a miscarriage, it feels like contractions and it feels like they're in labor. And I'm like, great, it would be me again. So the pain was horrible. Like, I even put on my Instagram, I was like, they should have sent me home with an epidural. Like, what? But yeah, pain, horrible. But again, still not bleeding. So my mom told me, you know, since you're, you know, having this pain, having these cramps, having these contractions or whatever, the blood is coming. So she didn't want me going to sleep, waking up to like a puddle of blood. So she was like, put down a garbage bag and some towels before you go to sleep to lay on. So I did, and I'm so thankful that I did, because I woke up and it was so much blood. Again, if you don't want to hear this, I'll see you next time. But yes, it was so much blood, and still, it wasn't as much pain as the night before, but it still felt like very, very bad cramps. And like if you've been pregnant before, it kind of feels like the first contractions you feel, where it's like, is it time? Are these Braxton Hicks? Like, do I need to go to the hospital? Like, you can handle the pain, but it's like, I think it's time. So it feels like that. If you haven't had a baby before, it feels like your period cramps on times 10. Okay? So that's what it feels like. But, so when I woke up, pain wasn't as bad as the day before, but it was a lot of blood. And when this is very TMI, but as the tissue and all of the I don't even know what it is, to be honest, but I'm going to call it like the pregnancy tissue or the baby tissue or like the sac, like you feel everything coming out. And I don't know why I didn't think I was going to feel that. I don't know why I thought it was just going to feel like a period. But no, like there's like, when you go to the, and it's not even when you go to the bathroom, because sometimes I'll be walking around the house because if I'm going through something, I have to like do something to try to keep my mind off of it. So my mom actually was there with me that day that I was actually full on going through the miscarriage and everything was coming out. And I'm just like cleaning up, and she's like, sit down, sit down. I'm like, no, I gotta do stuff. I gotta do something. So as I'm walking around, like you feel the tissue in the sac coming out, and it's like so much blood, and you like, I kept having to change my pad. And I don't like pads. Like when I'm on a period, I have to have a tampon. So me having a pad on already was too much for me. And then the amount of blood coming out was already too much for me. And then on top of that, you have like the ball of tissue, like you have to push it out. And the first time that it happened and I had to push it out, that made me cry too. Because I'm like, even though it's not the baby, because I've had DJ, I know the feeling of having a baby, and I know how, you know, it does not feel like having a baby. Because I want you to think that. But just the thought of pushing out something, and the fact that I'm here, it's not a baby, but I'm pushing out the tissue, and it feels like you have to push. It took my mind somewhere else, and it was just, yeah. So you do feel the tissue coming out, and when the tissue does come out, it's a lot of blood with it. For me, I had to change, like every time a wad of tissue would come out, I would have to change my pad because it was just so much blood. I wasn't prepared for that, because again, I thought it was just going to be like a period. No, it's not. Be prepared for a lot of blood. Well, for me, again, everyone's different, but for me, it was a lot of blood. So yes. So that was, and the bleeding kept going for about a week or so. But the pain went away. It was nothing like the very first night that it started. But that was my experience. I do not wish this on anyone. People keep asking me, you know, like every time someone talks to me, they talk about a rainbow baby. And yes, that's such a blessing for people to have rainbow babies. But I don't think I'm in the mental state right now, just to be honest, to try again. Now, like I said earlier, I'm all for the living. We're not going to try not to have a baby, but we're not going to try to have a baby, if that makes sense. I think for us, DJ happened, was not planned. He happened, we just let God flow with it. So at this point, we're just going to let God flow with it. If it happens, it happens. If it does not, it does not. We are definitely not going to be trying. And that's right now. Maybe, you know, a couple of years from now, I'm like, I really want to try. I might, you know, we might plan it out again. But for right now, where I'm at right now, we're just going to let it go. You know, whatever happens, happens. Because I feel like, sometimes I feel like, is that what was wrong? Was it because we wanted it so bad and we planned it out and it was like very strict, and, you know, maybe that's where we could have went wrong. Maybe it's just destined for us to just go with the flow, or whatever happens, happens. So I think that's where we are right now. So again, if we have a rainbow baby, so blessed, so ready. But I'm not mentally ready to just plan and try again. So we're not trying again. Because to be honest, I don't feel like I'm ready to go to another ultrasound. I think once I am pregnant again, that's going to be the hardest part for me. And I hope y'all stay with me on this journey, because again, I do want another baby. That was the whole point. So we will be getting pregnant. We will, you know, I will be pregnant again. And I hope you guys are there with me on the journey, because I will be taking you with me to the first ultrasound. You can hold my hand with me, and we're gonna hear that baby's heartbeat, I promise you. And some people say too, like, why, like me saying I want y'all to come with me on the first ultrasound, and some people say, why tell people, you know, me going through, I wouldn't be able to go through a miscarriage and not tell anybody. Like, I would probably go crazy. So I feel like having a support system while you're going through things is important. So why not tell you guys? So I hope that you come along on this journey with us. We will definitely be having videos coming, house updates, different type of videos coming. So please just be on this journey with us. As always, it's him and I, Aquim and I. Bye.